What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, October 24th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:21 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela. So it appears that the U.S. military will be moving the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier and associated carrier strike group from the Mediterranean to the southern Caribbean. Okay, that is a huge red flag that the U.S. is getting ready for a massive strike on Venezuela. And what's interesting is that the U.S. had just moved the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group to the Mediterranean, and now they're moving it out of the Mediterranean to the southern Caribbean. So the top speed of an aircraft carrier in the ocean is typically around 30 to 40 miles an hour. I think 35 miles an hour is their average cruising speed. So to get from the Mediterranean to the southern Caribbean, you're looking at least 5 days. So that means we're not going to see any strikes on Venezuela until next week sometime. Also, we have Hurricane Melissa, which is going to turn into potentially a Category 5 hurricane, and it's going to linger in the southern Caribbean through the weekend and through early next week, and then it's going to go over Cuba, which will affect Guantanamo Bay. So we still have a couple days before the fireworks kick off, but it looks like it's definitely going to happen if they're moving the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group from the Mediterranean to the southern Caribbean suddenly. That's a huge red flag. And then, of course, earlier this week, there were two B-1 bombers that flew to Venezuela, and then 2 weeks ago, a pair of B-52s flew to Venezuela as well. Okay. Now, the Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group includes a variety of Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, including the USS Mahan, the USS Winston Churchill, and the USS Brainbridge. Okay, so guided missile destroyers, these are special warships that are configured to launch missiles, cruise missiles, and also interceptor missiles. So they can use them to both intercept and to attack. Okay, so this means they're going to be striking a large number of targets, and they need those guided missile destroyers and the aircraft carrier to do that. Okay. Also, we're hearing that the USS Gravely is set to do exercises with Trinidad and Tobago all of next week from October 26th through the 30th. And this is going to be a joint military exercise with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Also, a U.S. Marine contingent will join the drills as well. Okay, so this is preparations for war, guys, okay? They're doing joint exercises with Trinidad and Tobago just in case Maduro decides to attack Trinidad and Tobago in retaliation. Now, we know that the U.S. has formally requested to move aircraft to Grenada, and Grenada has approved that, so we have moved some equipment, aircraft, and possibly weapons to Grenada, which is very close to Venezuela. And now we're doing joint exercises with Trinidad. Okay, Trinidad is very close to Venezuela, and if there were a full-blown war, Venezuela could retaliate and strike Trinidad. And what you're looking at here are multiple Russian VIP doomsday planes that flew from Moscow to the Ural Mountains. There's several doomsday bunkers in the Ural Mountains, most famously Mount Yamantu, which is in the southern Urals, not far from where these planes are flying in this picture. And then a little bit to the north in the central Urals, the central to northern Urals, you have Kazvinsky Kamin, which is where the Russian dead hand system is located. So this is very concerning. It looks like Putin may have been evacuated to Mount Yamantu this weekend for some unknown reason. And earlier this morning, for some unknown reason, we had a NATO E-3 Sentry AWACS plane patrolling the border of Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus, even though there were no Russian attacks on Ukraine. So something must be going on over here near the border of Belarus, Ukraine, and Poland for them to be constantly deploying these AWACS planes. My guess is it has to do with the Russian troop buildup all the way down here in southwestern Belarus near the border of Poland and Ukraine. There's tens of thousands of Russian troops staged over there. And Steve Bannon said Trump will be president for a third term in an interview. He said there's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. Wow. So Bannon saying there's a plan for Trump to be a third term, a three-term president to get a third term. And my guess is it has to do with World War III. That's the easiest way for him to become a three-termer. And Russia has declared a national emergency after Ukraine launched massive attacks against the Russian energy grid, plunging regions like Belgorod and Kursk into darkness. In Belgorod, chaos reigns, and what Russia inflicted on Ukraine in previous winters is now being inflicted on Russia itself. The crisis began after a wave of Ukrainian strikes against Belgorod's energy network. Locals reported loud explosions followed by immediate blackouts as Ukrainian drones first hit key transformers throughout the city. Within hours, another barrage hit the Belgorod thermal power plant, leaving 40,000 people without electricity. Footage shows the Luch power substation engulfed in flames, with emergency services unable to contain the fire. Belgorod Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov urged residents to find alternate power sources and rely on generators after Ukrainian missiles and drones wiped out the city's main power systems. So this is huge news, guys. Ukraine is now attacking Russia's energy grid very, very intensely, just in the same way that Russia was attacking Ukraine's energy grid in prior years, right before winter. But the order borders on absurdity. Due to Russia's worsening fuel crisis, local authorities have simultaneously prohibited citizens from filling jerry cans with gas, the very fuel these generators run on. Wow. Panic spread quickly as residents realized there was no backup plan or realistic solution coming from the government. Gas stations were ordered to conserve supplies for critical infrastructure only, leaving civilians trapped in the dark. Kursk region soon followed as Ukrainian drones hit transmission lines, causing widespread outages. Ukrainian official Andriy Kovalenko confirmed both Belgorod and Kursk were without power. In Bryansk region's Klintsy, a thermal power plant erupted in flames after a combined strike. The explosion, captured by locals and shared widely online. In the Vladimir region, a 750 kilovolt substation, a critical node in central Russia's energy grid, was disabled. In Ulyanovsk, the 500 kilovolt Veshkama substation was struck by multiple drones, causing cascading power failures across the region. An attack on Samara's Kanel Cherkasy substation followed, knocking out another major link in Russia's interconnected grid. Hours later, Volgograd's Balashkovkaya substation went up in flames, disrupting the power transfer from Volskaya hydroelectric station. The strikes reached as far as Nizhny Novgorod, where 6 Ukrainian long-range drones reportedly hit a key energy facility, cutting power to over 200,000 residents and shutting down industrial zones, with even mobile phone networks collapsing. So this is absolutely huge news, a massive strike on Russia's energy grid in recent days, recent hours. Okay, this is absolutely huge. And Great Britain and Germany will start to jointly hunt Russian subs in the North Atlantic. Germany will deploy 8 new P-8 Poseidon aircraft to operate alongside British crews from Lossiemouth. Wow. And Medvedev and Putin had some strong words for the U.S. after Trump declared sanctions against Russian oil companies. Medvedev said the USA is our enemy, and their talkative peacemaker has now fully taken up the path of war with Russia. The decisions made are an act of war against Russia. Wow, that's what Medvedev said. Absolutely insane. And the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, said this morning that Trump is fed up with Putin, and my experience with the U.S. leader shows that he has two negotiation levers, the carrot and the stick. At this moment, he has definitely applied the stick method. And Putin commented on the Tomahawks yesterday. He said, "This is an attempt at escalation, but if such weapons are used against our territory, our response will be very serious, to say the least, overwhelming." Wow. And Putin said that the new sanctions will have no significant impact on our economy. During the first term, Trump imposed bigger sanctions on us. If Russian oil is removed from the market, the price will grow, and I discussed it with President Trump. The U.S. won't be excluded. So then Trump was asked by a reporter what he thought about Putin saying that the sanctions will have no effect, and then Trump said, "Let's see in 6 months," and he started laughing with Hegseth. So it's not looking too good, guys. It looks like the honeymoon period between Trump and Putin is officially over. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is MyPatriot Supply. Guys, MyPatriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944, and they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from MyPatriot Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video. And the U.S. national debt surpassed $38 trillion, rising by $1 trillion in just 2 months, the fastest pace outside the pandemic. Wow. And a Russian Sukhoi 30 fighter jet and an Ilyushin 76 tanker reportedly violated Lithuania's airspace near Kirbatai around 1800 hours yesterday, according to Lithuania's defense ministry, in response to Spanish Eurofighter Typhoons on NATO air patrol were scrambled to intercept. So Russia flew a fighter jet and an aerial refueler into Lithuania's airspace. Okay, very concerning. And the White House said that Trump wants action, not just talk, with regards to Putin. And Putin said that new U.S. sanctions are an attempt to put pressure on Russia. No self-respecting country ever does anything under pressure. And Hegseth made some comments about the cartels yesterday, comparing them to Al-Qaeda. He said, these are designated foreign terrorist organizations. This is the ISIS. This is the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. Our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is, we will treat you like we treated Al-Qaeda. We will find you, we will map your networks, we will hunt you down, and we will kill you. Wow. So looks like the Trump administration is gearing up for a protracted operation, a long operation against these cartels, much like Obama and Bush did against Al-Qaeda. So these strikes against the cartels are going to be an ongoing thing. And then, of course, we're going to have the campaign against Venezuela, which will be like a shock and awe style attack and a full-on invasion, I believe. I believe there's going to be an amphibious invasion with U.S. Marines landing on the beaches of Venezuela and seizing control of the capital and removing Maduro from power. And Trump said yesterday that China is smuggling fentanyl through Venezuela to bypass U.S. and Mexican ports. Trump had some strong words for the leader of Colombia. He said Colombia is a drug den. A thug is the leader of that country. We are not going to put up with it much longer. Wow. Trump also said that Mexico is run by the cartels, and we have to defend ourselves from that. And when Trump was asked about Israel annexing the West Bank, he said, don't worry about the West Bank. Israel's not going to do anything with the West Bank. And the Venezuelan military has deployed air defense systems along the Caribbean coast. And the U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will make state visits next week to South Korea when South Korea hosts the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation events. So that's interesting, the Chinese president going to South Korea. Wow. And Zelensky urged EU leaders to agree as soon as possible on a plan to use frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine. And China's science and technology minister says efforts in quantum technology and biotechnology will be stepped up. And Rand Paul said that there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela, not just a little bit, there's none being made. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. We don't just summarily execute people. And he's talking about those strikes on the vessels. Okay, Rand Paul is against them. He's also against an operation in Venezuela. And a Trump administration official said that Trump will F Netanyahu if he jeopardizes the Gaza ceasefire. A U.S. official said if he keeps going, he'll F up the Gaza deal, and if he Fs up the deal, Donald Trump will F him. Interesting. Very strange words there by this Trump administration official. And here we have a Swedish reconnaissance plane that was doing some very intense reconnaissance in the Baltics, and it was actually specifically focusing on the Estonia-Russia border here, and it was doing multiple loops here along the border of Estonia and Russia. Also last night we had another U.S. sub-hunter off the coast of Mexico, off of Baja, California, not too far from San Diego, probably looking for cartel boats. And here's a post from Dmitry Medvedev. I'll read to you what he wrote. He said, Trump's cancellation of the summit in Budapest, new sanctions against our country from the USA. What else? Will there be new weapons besides the infamous tomahawks? If any of the numerous commentators still had illusions, here you go. The USA is our enemy. and their talkative peacemaker has now fully taken up the path of war with Russia. Yes, he does not always actively fight on the side of the Banderite Kiev yet, but this is now his conflict, not the senile Biden's. Of course, they will say that he could not do otherwise, that he was pressured in Congress, etc. This does not change the main thing. The decisions made are an act of war against Russia, and now Trump has fully aligned himself with the insane Europe. But there is a clear plus in the next swing of the Trump pendulum. It is possible to strike with various weapons at all Banderite hideouts without looking back at unnecessary negotiations, and to achieve victory exactly where it is only possible, on the ground, not behind a desk, destroying enemies, not making meaningless deals. Wow. So that's what Medvedev said. And last night we had several U.S. aerial refuelers associated with bombers and fighter jets leave Qatar and fly to the Meran Air Base in Spain, which is a well-known U.S. bomber base. That's the primary bomber base in Europe for the U.S. So I don't know why they would do that. I don't know if they're going to be launching missions out of there against Venezuela or something, but that's pretty unusual. And I wanted to give you guys an update on Melissa. So it is expected to turn into a major hurricane later this weekend on Saturday evening, and it's going to linger for several days off the coast of Jamaica. Looks like probably from Sunday through Tuesday it's going to be lingering here off the coast of Jamaica. Then by Wednesday, it's going to be over Cuba. All right, so while this storm is in the area, I don't believe we're going to do any strikes on Venezuela. Plus, we have the aircraft carrier that's going to be moving to the region, okay? And look at all the rainfall that's expected just in the next 3 days. This is just in the next 3 days. You see this pink area here? This is where the center of the storm is expected to be over the next 3 days. They're showing 20 to 30 inches of rain, okay, right where the eye is, around the eye. But it could be even more as time goes on, as these forecasts get updated. And looks like Jamaica could get catastrophic flooding from this. So keep Jamaica in your prayers. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. And I will be back potentially later on with another update. And follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at NYPrepper1. Trying to build that up as an alternative to YouTube. Also, check out my Patreon so you can get all these videos and more with no advertisements. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this video was sponsored by Just In Case Holsters. Guys, you need to get yourself a high-quality holster for your personal defense weapon. And the company I recommend for high-quality leather holsters is Just In Case Holsters. Now, these holsters are made in the USA by a veteran. And the holster that I really love for carrying a firearm in the woods is the Kodiak chest holster. I have one of these for my .357 Magnum, and the leather is really thick, really heavy duty, really beautiful, holds the firearm nicely, and you can draw the weapon very quickly, which is important in a personal defense situation. Now, he has a whole variety of holsters, not just these open carry chest holsters, but if you want to browse around their website, use the link in the description. It's justincaseholsters.com, and I have a special promo code that's going to give you 10% off of all of their products on their website, and the promo code is NYPrepper, and that's also in the description. So justincaseholsters.com. Use the promo code NYPrepper to get 10% off of any leather products on their website.